Thanks for visiting our channel again. Anthony Geary is someone you definitely know. The guy who made Luke Spencer a household name after turning him into a supporting actor. He was the most decorated male soap opera performer of all time, earning 8 daytime Emmys throughout his 37-year career. However, Anthony Geary abruptly stepped away from his stardom while he was at its peak. Without providing any explanation, he left Hollywood and disappeared from the limelight. Why? I want to know what happened. After he exited General Hospital's backstage, what did he leave behind? I don't understand why one of the most famous American TV stars would want to depart while everyone else was praising him. Even more perplexed and intrigued will you be by the third revelation. Tell me about his hidden life partner. Let's find out what really happened with Anthony Geary, the guy who altered the course of television. In addition to leaving behind one of the most enigmatic farewells in Hollywood history. The modest community of Coleville, Utah, where Anthony Geary was born on May 29, 1947, was noted for its dry dirt roads and open fields where children played in. He was taught the importance of working hard and sticking with something until it was finally paid off. He came from a working-class background. Russell Dean Geary Sr. was an entrepreneur in the construction industry who began his journey with a digger and a battered vehicle. Except for his dogged persistence, he had no means at his disposal. As a young man, Anthony watched as his father toiled away at his firm, transforming it from a meager startup into a prosperous enterprise. Because of this, Geary learned an important lesson. You have to finish what you start. Dana Geary, his emotionally fragile and sensitive mother, was a homemaker. She instilled in her son an unabashed emotional honesty that she herself never lacked. Equipment had a keen eye for detail, even when he was a little boy. A talent that would eventually make him a great actor. He carefully observed the facial expressions and body language of people around him. Geary had an insatiable appetite for cinema from an early age, closely observing and learning from them. Each film he watched was carefully documented in his personal notebook, along with the director, cast, and his critical thoughts. Unlike other kids, he wasn't merely captivated by stories with strong heroes. An obsession that would influence his work for years to come. His fascination with villains was complicated and multifaceted. Geary always felt he belonged on stage, even though nobody in his family was involved in show business. As a child, he would spend hours locked away in his room acting out movie sequences, complete with voice impersonations and character traits. Geary earned his diploma in 1965 from North Summit High School. He may not have excelled in the classroom, but his exceptional artistic talent was obvious to all. He was a mainstay in every school play and participated in every one. For a young man hailing from a sleepy little town like Coleville, Geary's dramatic scholarship to the University of Utah was an incredible opportunity. Anthony Geary didn't get his start in the industry with major motion pictures or TV shows. Instead, he spent a lot of time perfecting his acting chops on stage, where he had to pay close attention at all times and make no mistakes. He was a student at the University of Utah when he had his first major break in the late 1960s. The subject was Roses, a stage production, brought veteran actor and Oscar winner Jack Albertson to the school. As the son in the play, Geary made an instant impact on Albertson with his performance. An unexpected offer was made by Albertson following the last show. How about we go on a tour together? Coming from a little town like Coleville, this was a young man's chance to finally experience the world he had always imagined. Leaving college without a second thought, Geary joined Albertson on the tour. At Los Angeles, he had his first taste of the entertainment world and knew then that he couldn't turn back. His trip had taken him there. Only the hardest-working individuals could make it through the cutthroat 1970s Los Angeles scene. Geary, though, refused to let the stress deter him and dove headfirst into his task. For many years, he gave his all to the stage, appearing in 50 or 60 musicals in settings ranging from little clubs to massive arenas. During this time, he honed his improvising skills, emotional regulation, and capacity to hold the audience's attention at all times. It laid the groundwork for his later success on television by allowing him to hone an acting technique that was both natural and subtle, but fascinating. Geary started putting his acting chops to the test on television after years of focused effort on the stage. Despite his small roles, he always brought nuance to his characters in popular TV series of the period, such as Room 222, The Streets of San Francisco, and the $6 million man preventing them from ever becoming inconsequential supporting characters. He became famous for this talent after landing a hard role on the hit TV show All in the Family. Geary played Roger in 1971, a character that All in the Family's protagonist Archie Bunker suspected of being gay. Even in comedies, which aim mainly to entertain, discussions of LGBTQ+ issues were taboo on American television back then. On the other hand, Geary decided to give Roger his due instead of making him a caricature or a punchline. He gave a performance that was both authentic and approachable, steering clear of caricature and hyperbole. The end result was an innovative program that changed the way Hollywood dealt with LGBTQ+ individuals and their representation on television. Geary proved himself to be an actor who was not afraid to tackle difficult and contentious parts in All in the Family, despite the briefness of his involvement. This was the first step into a whole new world for him: soap operas. Geary became a cast member of the 1971 CBS daytime program Bright Promise. At first, it was merely another acting gig. Nevertheless, he met Gloria Monty, the lady who would ultimately alter the trajectory of his entire career, at that very gig. She had a brilliant vision and was a major player in the history of soap operas. She noticed something special about Geary the minute they started working together, something that maybe not even Geary himself had seen. "Embrace your uniqueness," Monty told him. Monty wanted Geary to embrace his eccentric, atypical acting approach, but most producers were looking for Hollywood-type actors with traditional good looks. She carried that memory for a long time. A few short years later, Monty took a risk by becoming the executive producer of General Hospital. For Geary alone, she crafted a brand new persona. Nobody, not even Anthony Geary himself, could have predicted that his 1978 casting in General Hospital would be the role that would define his career. Geary, like countless other soap opera actors, was first signed for a brief 13-week contract. However, a surprising turn of events followed. Luke Spencer's meteoric rise to fame and groundbreaking appearance on the show transformed daytime television. Luke Spencer was completely unique compared to all the previous characters. During an era when most male protagonists in soap operas were depicted as perfect, perfectionists, and morally pure, Luke appeared as a complex anti-hero. He lacked the charisma of the typical royal and was not the type of person that would captivate anyone with just a glance. His defiance, danger, pitifulness, and profound flaws made him oddly appealing. Luke was conceived of as everything but a typical hero from the start. A man with a troubled background, he was an outsider who would resort to any means necessary to ensure his survival. His debut on the show was actually quite divisive. At one point, Luke was depicted as the guy who sexually attacked Laura Weber, a beloved female character on the program. But in a surprising turn of events, spectators could not help but notice Luke, even if he had previously been disliked. I don't understand how the villain Luke Spencer became America's most viewed man. That was Anthony Geary's job. No one else could have given Luke the life he deserved, making him horrifying, tragic, and fascinating all at once. Geary deviated from the script. His performance brought dimension to Luke's enemy, transforming him into a broken man troubled by his history. Because they witnessed someone battling their own issues, they couldn't help but root for him. Soap opera conventions were shaken up by Geary's brilliant performance and daring plot points. The days of flawless leading men are over. With the introduction of Luke Spencer, a new age of multifaceted characters began to emerge, one in which a man could play the role of hero and villain simultaneously. It wasn't merely Luke Spencer's eccentric personality, though, that made him an iconic figure in popular culture. It was his role in the most famous American television love story of all time, Luke and Laura, a captivating and divisive romance that rocked Hollywood. If General Hospital was transformed by Luke Spencer, then the show's meteoric rise to fame could be attributed to their romance. Luke and Laura were more than just a screen romance. They were the most iconic American television couple of all time. Their marriage in November 1981 was the high point of their relationship, drawing 30 million people and making daytime television history in the United States. Everyone in the United States seemed to be obsessed with Luke and Laura that day. Coffee shops and restaurants had a commonality with office buildings that were deserted, while shopping malls saw a precipitous decline in sales. Watching the televisions, everyone was completely absorbed. Though it had none of the hallmarks of a royal wedding or a big political event, it yet managed to hold the nation's attention like no other news story that day. Luke and Laura had gone from being soap opera characters to iconic figures in American popular culture. Their relationship had a controversial beginning, which was in sharp contrast to the lovely moment that millions of spectators observed. Luke and Laura's love story didn't start off like a fairy tale, which made it even more stunning. It all began with a criminal act. Luke sexually attacked Laura at a disco, setting a precedent for the most divisive moment in American television history. Audiences of today find this scene nearly incomprehensible. The plot, though, did a U-turn when we were there. The show switched up Luke's storyline such that he isn't a villain, but rather a troubled man haunted by his own transgressions. Forcing himself to face the consequences of his crimes, Luke sought redemption and, in the end, won the affection of the lady he had wronged. He was more than simply a culprit. This resulted in a captivating and intricate dynamic that held the attention of the audience. General Hospital stood apart because of this. Instead of doing the same old thing on daytime television, it had the guts to try something new. However, this famous nuptial was a carefully orchestrated spectacle that was under tremendous pressure behind the scenes. Powerful woman Gloria Monty, who was responsible for the show's success, would not stand for mistakes or delays. Insisting that every aspect be perfect, she demanded an intense filming schedule. The wardrobe staff was so worried that Laura's wedding dress would wrinkle that Jeannie Francis, who portrayed the role, recalls that she couldn't sit down all day. You could feel the anxiety in the air on site. It was clear to everyone that this wasn't your average episode. That was a watershed moment for television. There were memorable moments, even with all the stress. Filming the Virginia Genuine dance sequence brought back fond memories of square dancing events from Anthony Geary's boyhood, which he thoroughly enjoyed. After the ceremony, Luke and Laura drove away in a classic Model T, which became one of the episode's most recognizable images. Millions of people were looking forward to this wedding, and this image helped set the mood by adding a touch of dazzling romance. There was a grandiose party in New York to honor the occasion because Luke and Laura had such a huge impact off set. Sadly, though, neither Anthony Geary nor Jeannie Francis, the event's two main protagonists, were invited. After Francis learned this, she confessed that she felt hurt. One of the most memorable events in television history, the wedding of Luke and Laura, was celebrated with a celebration that omitted the individuals responsible for making it possible. Regardless of whether this was a planned mistake or a conscious choice by the filmmakers, Francis was still quite disappointed. The fact that Princess Diana was a diehard fan of Luke and Laura's shows just how popular they are. Little is known about the fact that Princess Diana was a General Hospital fan, even though the world was glued to her 1981 wedding to Prince Charles. Reportedly, she had VHS tapes imported from the United States specifically to watch Luke and Laura's episodes because she was so engrossed in them. Diana went so far as to send a bottle of champagne to celebrate the on-screen nuptials. There was a comedic twist when Geary could drink the present while Francis couldn't, as she wasn't old enough to legally drink. Luke and Laura may have had a rocky start, but nobody can dispute that they became icons of American television. They broke new ground in daytime drama storytelling with their plot, which was more than simply another soap opera romance. Even though Anthony Geary had achieved the highest level of accomplishment, the question persisted. Did it meet his expectations? Or was he trying to find a way out in order to pursue something even more significant? No one could have foreseen the monumental impact that Anthony Geary would have when he arrived on the set of General Hospital with a meager 13-week contract, altering the trajectory of daytime television forever. However, Geary transformed his role into a revolution with the unusual character Luke Spencer. The devotion was rewarded with a record-breaking achievement at the Daytime Emmy Awards, in addition to the love of millions of fans. A total of 8 awards for Best Leading Actor. Between his historic 2012 win and his first Emmy in 1981, when Luke and Laura were at the height of their stardom, Geary demonstrated that he was an actor with extraordinary depth, able to transform any screenplay into an iconic performance. His 4 decades of victories, in 1981, 1999, 2000, 2004, 2006, 2008, 2012, and 2015, a test to a talent that remained fresh throughout. Geary stood out because he wouldn't let Luke Spencer be a cookie-cutter hero. Geary was fearless in making Luke more tortured, complicated, and even completely surprising, in contrast to many soap opera performers who opted for familiar, safe portrayals to keep viewers engaged. The multifaceted persona he created was easy for viewers to root for or hate. He showed us a powerful and vulnerable human being. In a genre that is sometimes panned for having flat characters, this level of complexity was unusual. Everyone was enthralled by Luke's never-ending journey of personal growth, not just viewers. Even critics couldn't deny Geary's genius. Geary is one of the most iconic daytime TV actors of all time, according to one reviewer, thanks to his remarkable versatility, distinctiveness, and uniqueness. Furthermore, the data was conclusive. Not only did Geary surpass his own record in 2012 for most daytime Emmy wins, but he also set a new record overall. At the height of his glory, with Golden Awards in hand, Geary never sat around for too long to enjoy himself. He aspired to be more than just a soap opera icon. He wanted to be seen as an actor of exceptional caliber, a fearless artist. That very frame of mind caused him to do the unthinkable, to quit his job in Hollywood and start over with a fresh start. Over the years, Anthony Geary became more than just General Hospital's beating heart. In American television history, he will always be remembered. In doing so, he established himself as one of the all-time great actors and revolutionized the soap opera genre. Geary made an announcement that sent shockwaves through Hollywood just as he was reaching the pinnacle of his career, with Luke Spencer still a key presence on the program. His retirement was official. It wasn't a decision made on the fly. It had been on Geary's mind for quite some time. Despite his undying devotion to acting, he had always hoped to break free of the constraints of a single part, no matter how illustrious, and play Luke Spencer. Geary once stated in an interview, "What else could be waiting for me?" Finally, he got his solution in 2015. His heart no longer belonged in Hollywood. None of it, the movies, the accolades, the flashing lights, had the same charm. Geary wished for a new life, one where she could relax, unburdened by the demands of others, and not have to live in constant fear of Luke Spencer. General Hospital viewers were shocked when the news came out. Does Anthony Geary need Luke Spencer? Luke Spencer absent from General Hospital? It seemed unfathomable. Regardless of the public's demands or the producer's enticing offers, Geary maintained her steadfast stance. Frustration or disputes behind the scenes weren't the reasons he was leaving. He had given Luke Spencer his all, and now he was leaving. We needed to start a fresh chapter. Geary remained composed on his last day, filming General Hospital. He had no interest in rehashing old grievances. The decision was still not made without difficulty, though. The entire crew and cast stood in hushed applause as he filmed his final scene. There was no need for words. An era had come to a close, and everyone knew it. Like Luke Spencer, Anthony Geary had no qualms with escaping Hollywood for an unanticipated existence. He ultimately found his place in the world in Amsterdam, where he lived a peaceful life. Not Luke Spencer anymore. An enigma, Anthony Geary remained throughout his decades-long career. He brought the complex, charismatic, and highly dramatic character of Luke Spencer to life on television. However, Geary's introverted, media-averse, and utterly silent personality shone through in real life. Geary opted for total secrecy, in contrast to the many Hollywood stars who were known to have high-profile relationships. Concerning his romantic life, he remained tight-lipped. There are no rumors about a significant other or controversies. Controversy ensued as a result. So, had Anthony Geary ever been in a relationship, or had he spent his whole life by himself? Years after he left Hollywood, the shocking answer finally came to light. Anthony Geary had done it behind closed doors. Around here, nobody had a clue. It hadn't been covered in any newspapers. Not a single snapshot had been taken by the paparazzi. Geary formally wed Claudio Gamma in 2020. They had met 30 years before. This discovery was made completely by accident when Gamma shared an Instagram photo. It had been a year since we were married. We tied the knot 6 years ago in February, the same month in which Tony and I met 30 years ago. The accompanying photo, however, was what really startled the nation. Viewers witnessed Anthony Geary's partner and him sharing a private moment for the very first time. The pair has been living their happily ever after in the Netherlands since 2017, away from the cameras and the spotlight. Filming long hours, reading complicated scripts, and feeling pressured to keep up appearances are all things of the past. Living a humble yet satisfying existence is now Geary's norm. After spending decades in the limelight, he and Gamma now enjoy hosting social events, cooking and baking together, and generally living life at a more leisurely pace. Sincerely, Gamma divulged bits and pieces about their everyday lives. Everyone is going all out to celebrate our wedding anniversary. Just a simple comment, but it told supporters all they needed to hear. The thing that Anthony Geary had been looking for all these time had finally been discovered. Living a life unhurried. A love that didn't need anyone else's approval. And a business associate who had been there for him for 3 decades. Instead than merely portraying a role, Anthony Geary revolutionized the soap opera industry as a whole. Both perfect leading men and one-dimensional villains dominated daytime television prior to Luke Spencer. But Geary's portrayal of Luke broke all stereotypes, making him the first real anti-hero and opening the door for more nuanced characters in contemporary TV. Luke Spencer was the model for the kind of character development that gave rise to modern-day heroes like Tony Soprano, The Sopranos, and Walter White, Breaking Bad. Geary did more than just raise the bar for soap opera acting. He transformed the genre from superficial melodrama into profound psychological narrative by reimagining character archetypes. The statistics back up the critics' claim that no one has ever brought Luke Spencer to life as Anthony Geary did on soap operas. For decades of hard work, 8 Emmys, and a role that altered television history, Anthony Geary's name will always stand tall in American television history, even though he has retired from acting. The great career of Anthony Geary has officially come to an end. No one is offering you a chance to return. He has completely retired and has no plans to return to any project. He also does not make appearances at entertainment events. Geary, escaping the mayhem of Hollywood, prefers to live a low-key existence in Amsterdam. In addition to avoiding interviews, he has cut ties with the media. These days, Claudio Gama's quick social media posts are the only way the public gets a sight of Geary. Luke Spencer, the legendary soap opera actor, is now simply a man enjoying his golden years as he sees fit. Fame and success have long since faded from Geary's life. He does little to keep up appearances, which effectively closes any possibility of a comeback to show business. The last leg of Anthony Geary's trip is a life apart from the rest of society, where he may relax and enjoy himself without interference. Anthony Geary was more than simply an actor. He was a legend in the soap opera world. Thanks to his 40 years of dedicated work, 8 Emmy Awards, over 10,000 episodes, and a character that changed the television industry. His era has finally ended, though, as all good stories do. Anthony Geary's legacy will live on in American television history, even though he has retired from acting. The influence of Geary on the business will never be replaced, even though Luke Spencer has left General Hospital. Unforgettable. In your opinion, how good is Anthony Geary? If you want to be sure you don't miss any of the most surprising and startling stories involving Hollywood icons, subscribe to the channel and leave a comment below. Looking forward to seeing you in our upcoming video.